If your maintenance renewal rate drops from 85% to 75%, it may not sound like a big deal, but for a typical HVAC company, that small drop can mean losing over 100,000 in future service and install revenue. So let's look at this one KPI that's going to tell you whether your maintenance base is compounding or collapsing. And so here, what we're going to show is how many. Oh, let me fix this right quick. How many plans were up for renewal, and then how many were renewed, and then how many were canceled. And then we're going to build a stacked column. So the red arc is cancellations, and the blue is renewal, and then the green line here is the percentage. And so here we have a data set. Let me show it to you here. It's pretty straightforward data set, but the main thing we need is, was it up for renewal, and did it get renewed? Once you have that, and then you have a month, then you can calculate everything. So you don't need something this in depth. I work with multiple HVAC shops, and so I'm fairly familiar with the data sets. And so I just recreated one to show you this KPI. But yeah, and so if you want this data set with my solution, with my formulas, with all that stuff, then there's a link to download it. Or you can just shoot me an email, and I'll give you my email here in a bit. So the only thing we have to calculate here is this column, the end of the month column. So we need to see the end of the month based off of the service date. So equals EO month, or based off of this, not like the whenever you enter in this information, which could be just once a month. So EO month and then comma 0. And that's going to give you the end of the month of the date that you selected. So you can see 11/30, which is the end of 11/1, 12/30, 1/31, or I guess 12/31. Yeah. So anyways, these right here match these, so I will delete this. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to get a unique list of the months of this month column over here, well, on the starting point, but we need to get this, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so equals, let me just type in month. So equals unique. So we want a unique list of here, of this table. Make sure you highlight the table as well. And so we have that. And one thing I want to show you that you need to make sure of is you need to make sure that these are in the proper sequence. And you can see they're not, right? Like you have 26 and then you have 24. And so all you have to do is wrap this with the sort function, and then it automatically sorts them, how you want. Okay, so the next thing we want, I'm going to strip out the year because I want to create this down here. We need the renewals due and then how many were renewed. And then we can do everything else. But let me just paste this here. And to get the year, it's the text function equals text and then 4y's. 4y's to get the text function here. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to see how many renewals are due. And because it's binary right here, let me remove the filters. So because it's binary, we can do a sum, right? Because you can count the number of ones or you can sum the number of ones. It's the same answer. So what we want to do, I'll do sum if s just because it's a little bit easier, but I'll do count if s for renewed. So sum if s, so sum the renewal column here, comma, where the month column here, comma, is B3. So we have that here, and so we're good. So the next one we need is the renewed column, and this time I'll do count fs, and I'll show you why sum fs is a little bit easier. It's because you have one less argument that you have to type in. So did they renew here? So it's going to be count this column, comma, where it's 1. So that little extra comma 1 is the thing that makes it sort of annoying. And then here we need to count this column as well if it's 1, right? We need to make sure the renewal was due and it was renewed. So they both need to be 1, comma, and then the month over here, comma, is cell B3 here. And so you can see 7. So you can see it's 100% there, and then what is that, 75% here. So cancel that renewal is just equals, like what is the renewal rate? We're not going to do we can just call this, oh, hold on. Yeah, renewed This is the renewal rate. I'm on the wrong column here. So cancel that renewal is renewal due minus the renewed. Just getting ahead of myself. And the reason why we want this column is so we can create that stacked column chart. Instead of having two columns next to each other, we want a stacked column chart. Okay, so from here to calculate that, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the month, and then we're going to highlight the renewed and the canceled at renewal and the renewal rate. So these three. And then go to insert recommended charts. You're not going to see what you want, but I'll show you. If you go to combo, and then it's sort of getting a little better. You can see the green line, but the problem is that the renewal rate of, say, 100% or 0.75 is on the same axis of, 40, 45 here. And so first, we want to make these stacked columns. So both of those are now stacked, which is what we want. And then for the line, we want to do it on the secondary axis here. So in other words, the line here is going to have its own axis, right? You can see that right here. So we don't want the line to be on this axis because it would just be on the bottom the whole time. And then let me get the chart title. And so yeah, that's how you calculate it. Pretty straightforward. The hardest thing, of course, is getting your data structured. Once your data structured, you're good to go. And so yeah, if you have your data structured, then these formulas are quite useful. And then if you want to show the values here, I'll show you a couple ways. So if you click on the chart and then you click the crosshair, you're going to see it, but it's super noisy. Right? Like you have way too much going on. But if you want, just say the high point of the line, or if you want just the line and you click on the line, you can do it this way. Still pretty noisy. But if you want, say, just the high point, you can click on there and you see how that little square is only on that point. Then you can do it that way. And then let's try to find a low point. Maybe it's this one. And then if you click on those, you can make them bold, you can increase the font size. You can also put a little background to it, to make it maybe a little bit easier to read. I don't like that color, but yeah, like that. And then finally, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, put this down here, and then I'll just type out 2024, 2025, 2026. Just so you can see that at the annual level. Right, so how many renewals were due equals sum if s, this column here. No, it's not that column, it's this column, comma, where the year is this. And you can see for 2024, there were 192 opportunities. And then you can lock the columns, like I'll show you how to do that. So if I lock this column D, if I just do this right here, and then do this right here to lock the row, I can drag this across, and it's not working. Why is it not working? Because I did the wrong. You don't lock this one. You lock this one. Right, and so you can see all that, but because if I just copy and paste, if I drag this across, it's zero because we want the column C and column D, but here you can see it all shifted over one. But if you lock the columns that way, then you can see it's not shifting over. But this is shifting over because we're looking for renewed next. And then cancel that renewal is also shifting over because we did not lock that. But if I do this, double click down, and then you have a renewal rate of this divided by this. And so you can see this way at the annual level, what it's telling you. And so, yeah, that's how you calculate this. If you have any questions, as always, just shoot me an email. Questions at databoards.io. And if you want this file with my solutions, with my formulas, with everything, there is a link to download it. If you can't find it, then again, shoot me an email. And also, if you need some help structuring your data in a way that's useful to where you can get insights, or even, needing some help getting the insights, then there's a link to my calendar, or you can just shoot me an email. But yeah, that's it for this one, and I will see you in the next video.